Welcome to the Harmonious Family Life, how to create deep connections, transform your family, and live with confidence and grace. My name is Ulrika Bilby, and my mission is to transform families, creating a harmonious family where we all can thrive individually and together, using our strengths and our unique skills. And today, I will be speaking to Krista Rizzo. Krista is a professional coach and a member of Forbes Coach Council, today's show's parenting team, as well as TEDx Andrew class of 2020. She has over 2 decades of relationship management experience working for Fortune 10 companies. So welcome, Krista.
Thank you. Hi, so nice to be here.
So great that you can take the time to speak with me here today. Today's topic will be on something that I think that we all have, of course, will be on relationships. And we have it, of course, at home and with friends, and the most important one, with ourselves and our family, right? Yeah. So I know that you have had a journey, and I think a lot of working parents can recognize themselves in your journey. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and the passion for what you do, and
Okay. So, hi everybody. Thank you for watching. My name is Krista, and I am a transformational life coach. I spend most of my time talking about relationships. I came to coaching through the universe's guide, I guess, back in 2002, I guess, early 2002. It was after September 11th. So I am a New Yorker. I am currently not living in New York City, but I typically do, thanks to the pandemic. But on 9/11, I lived 2 blocks south of the World Trade Center. And after that whole thing happened, we ended up staying, and it was a whole thing. But I remember reading an article about life coaching. And I was walking outside, and I had just finished reading the article, and I was like, I want to be a life coach. And I said it out to the universe. I didn't have a plan about it. I didn't have an idea about it. I didn't have anything about it. I had literally just read an article, and I was like, that sounds like something I would like to do. I was 28 years old at the time, or 29 years old, and was working in corporate America, had a very long stint with a Fortune 10 company where I worked my way up, had got married, had kids, all the things, and never really thought about life coaching along that way, right? And then about 7 years ago now, I was with that same company, and there had been some, organizational changes that happened, and I found myself in the middle of a very toxic work environment. It was unhealthy, it was unproductive, and it was really difficult to manage. And I'm the kind of person who is like, okay, this does not have to affect any other area of my life. So I'm going to try and keep this separate, right? Work is work, and my home and my family and my friends and all the other things are completely different. Except you can only do that for so long before it all kind of seeps into your being, because everything is connected, right? So I managed to figure out a way to overcome that after I went through, a pretty tumultuous time. There was a lot of there was some sexual harassment in there. There was some verbal harassment in there. There was a lot of stuff that, as women, I think a lot of us are not unaccustomed to, right? I think, I don't know one woman who hasn't been, misspoken to in their life based on the way they look, the way they act, the way they walk, the way they talk. So, going through that was really hard, and not being appreciated for my actual work ethic and my strengths and all that stuff. And it was really the first time that, not the first time that had happened to me, but it was the first time that it was so consistent and blatant.
So how did you bring that home, or could you?
So I tried to not bring it home, right? It was like, I can't, I've got 2 kids, I've got, I wanted to, and it's like, you want to make people think that everything is okay, because that's, right? We're women, and we're like, we can handle it. I can handle it.
And you want the harmony.
Yeah. And right. Like, everything's fine at home. I don't want to deal with this. Right. Except it was starting to take a toll on me at home too. Right. I didn't want to go into the office. I was trying to find ways to work from home. I was trying to, figure out how to keep it separate. And it wasn't happening that way, right? So I ended up burning out from it, right? I was very stressed out. I was probably depressed. I was very high anxiety. I had all this stuff going on, and I really just needed to figure it out. And I ended up breaking down on the floor of my bedroom on my 13th wedding anniversary to my husband. And um, he looked at me and said, "How can I help?" And help was not really a word that I was accustomed to using, right? I am a type
Wow.
A control freak, as I myself described or prescribed. Um, I like things a certain way, and I like to do things, and I like to make sure everything is, is copacetic and all the things. And it's easier, like sometimes it's just easier to do it instead of doling out the responsibility, right? We're all moms, we know how we do that. Like we are pack mules. We can carry 27 bags and watch our significant others carry one and think they're doing the best job on the planet, right? It's like we've all been there.
Mm.
And I was like, "I don't know how you can help me." And he was like, "I will help you any way that I know how. You just have to tell me what you
Mm.
need. I can't read your mind. I can't, I can help take out the garbage, and I can help make dinner, and I can help pick up the kids," which he already did, right? He's like, "But I need to know how I can help you to be better, right? Because we can't have you on the floor in a puddle
Mm.
because you are the rock of the family, right? Where that's just
Mm.
how it is." And so we kind of had to do a lot of, you know, uncovering, right? I had to peel back the layers. I had to look in the mirror. I had to say, "You know what? I'm, 40 years old or 41 years old, and this was not the person I expected I was going to be." Right? When I was in college, I was going to school to be a fashion designer. Well, I'm definitely not that, right? So we've all, and I think all of our paths, it happens, like that's just how life goes, right? It's like,
Yes.
oh, this is my path, and it all of a sudden you made a left-hand turn. Um, so we quickly realized that there was something big had to happen, and I found a way out of the company, and I left and really took some time to be with myself and figure out what I wanted to do. And that's, I started interviewing with other companies, and I was really not feeling like I wanted to go be a slave for somebody else. And I like that it sounds like a terrible analogy, but it really is true. Like I was interviewing with these companies that were like, "Well, like one company who is like one of the biggest companies in the world was like, "We're going to create a job for you, but you're going to have to give us 70 hours a week." And I was like, I can't do that. I have 2 kids. I have a life. I can, so I really started thinking about what was the most important thing to me. Was it the career? Was it the money? Was it all of that? Or was it something more organic? Was it going
Mm.
to be something on my own? Was it going to be something less stressful? Was it going to be something that was going to make me feel more fulfilled? And how was I going to pull that off?
Mm.
And I started working with a coach. And that's when I remembered that I actually said out loud to the universe 10 years prior, "I want to be a life coach." And I was like, maybe I should go try that. Maybe I have the time right now. We're financially okay. It's not a necessity for me to run out and get a job immediately because there was a severance package and all this stuff in the background. Um, I can explore this, and maybe it's a right fit. So that's what I did. I went out, I found a certification program. I talked to my coach and I was like, "What do you think?" And she was like, "Well, you don't have to be certified, but it's a good idea because at some point the coaching industry could potentially become certified, and there are, all these things." And I was like, "Okay." So I went back to school. I got certified to be a transformational life coach. And I just started talking to people.
Mm.
And I started out as a parenting coach. You go to these, you take these courses, and it's like, find your niche, find your niche, find your niche. And I've never really been drawn to any particular niche. I'm drawn to humanity.
Mm.
And I think that, you know, it has either served me well or not served me well. I'm not quite sure. But I've had a hard time like niching down to be like, I only talk to parents, because I don't only talk to parents, right? I talk to a
Mm.
lot of people. But in the beginning, I felt very pulled to helping parents, helping mothers particularly try to
Mm.
find balance, which is not really a thing, right? We can balance looks like this. Um,
Yeah, it's
and
up and
I
it's down.
Yeah, it's up and it's down. And
Mm.
between the hours of this, it's this, and it's just different. And we have to be able to find our footing in all of that. And so I started out, and Why Am I Yelling has always been the name of my brand. I don't know where it actually, that came from a contest entry I did for a talk show with Oprah Winfrey, and it was going to be the name of my talk show, which is like it's my Facebook watch show now. So I guess that worked out for me.
Yeah.
But Why Am I Yelling for me is yelling is not a bad thing, right? Think about yelling as a positive. Right? So think about the amount of time that you yell, right? Sometimes we yell because we're frustrated and we're angry and we're mad and we're sad and all of those things. But a
Which is
lot of
what we
times we're
think
yelling.
normally when we think about yelling.
Yes,
We think
yes.
about the negative.
100%. And I've had to switch people's mindset toward that, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, for me, I am a native New Yorker. I live in New York City. I'm an Italian American, so I am naturally a loud human being. And my mom used to always say to me, "Why are you yelling? You're being so loud." But when I get excited about something, I get louder. I want people to hear what I have to say because it's important to me, right? I'm excited about it. So for me, yelling is about passion. What are you passionate about? Are you passionate because you are starting a new venture? Are you passionate because you are, committed to this relationship or to your parenting or to yourself? Are you passionate about your hobby? Are you yelling because you are on the sidelines at your child's, sporting event or coaching them on or cheering them on? Like for me, that's what yelling is. It's all about the good stuff. With some of the life stuff, drizzled in there. So, Why Am I Yelling became a coaching practice. It'll be 6 years this year. And I have, I've coached everyone from, new parents to expectant parents to full on, empty nesters to middle-aged women who are going through the phase of, I don't connect with myself because I've given up, a lot of me to be a mom,
Mm.
to be a career woman, and to have all the other hats. And I never made myself a priority. And I think
Mm.
that's when I learned, when I had my, my burnout breakdown kind of thing, I learned that I needed to start prioritizing myself and making
Yes.
my relationship a priority. And I am certain that women of my generation especially, were not taught to do that, right? We are
Yes.
working so hard to teach our children to make themselves a priority and to show them why that's important, but we were never taught that, right?
Mhm.
I would watch my grandmothers take care of my parents and their children, and my mother did the same thing. It was like her house had to be cleaned, her husband had to be taken care of, her children had to be taken care of, her job had to be done, and then if she had 5 minutes, she would go run and get a manicure.
Mm.
There was no consistent self-care in anybody's life, especially any woman that I looked up to in my life, right? Everybody was always sacrificing for everybody else. And at the end of the day, that's when the overwhelm comes in. That's when the bitterness comes in. That's when the unappreciation comes in, because you're walking around and you're like, oh, these damn kids, they don't pick up after themselves. And I'm picking up another pair of socks. And why do I have to do all the things? And why is nobody listening to me? And listen, I still do it, right? And I've got 2 kids and I'm a coach and I teach people how to not do it. Because that's just how it goes. Like, I feel like we all have to be trained, to do those things and have consideration for others and all that stuff that falls into, the realm of just life lessons.
So have
So
you
that's what I'm doing.
created skills then around this, how to be aware of these things? As you said, as parents, we often do that without thinking. And then, all the have-tos pile up and then
Yeah.
we're overwhelmed again. So have you found some strategies or paths that you can use?
So I think a lot of it has to do with communication,
Mm.
right? And if you are the kind of person who, is passive aggressive, I know several of those people,
Mm.
and you just do it all and you talk to yourself and you're muttering under your breath how annoying this is or how this, you know what I mean? Like, we've all been
Yeah.
there. Um, and you're not letting it out, you're doing yourself a disservice, right? Being able to communicate and communicate effectively and successfully is a skill, right? We all know how to talk, but do we all know how to listen? Do we all know how to be present? Do we all know how to turn the things off and not be distracted by having these conversations? And I think that when you have, those kinds of conversations that really are meaningful and validating, right? Validating feelings, especially right now during COVID, is very, very important, right? Everybody is feeling all of the things all at the same time. And
Mm-hmm.
there's not one person on the planet that's not being affected by this, which is not something that's ever happened before, right? Like,
Right.
pockets of things have happened to different people in pockets of the world, but this
Right.
is all encompassing. And so there is literally not one person, not even the new babies who are being born every day are unaffected by this, right?
Mm.
So we have to take into consideration everybody's needs and wants and feelings. And I think for a lot of us, that's not an easy thing to do because we haven't had to really do it on such an intense level in the past, right? We've had conversations and we've had, interactions and all that stuff. We've made it this far. But I think now we really have to be present. We really have to be considerate of other people's feelings and other people's needs and wants. And when you can voice that and say, I feel like I'm being taken advantage of, which could potentially be extreme, but maybe, right? I feel like I'm being taken advantage of because all I do is cook and clean and pay the bills and take care of the kids and schlep them back and forth to practices and make sure their homework is done and make sure all that stuff. And I don't feel like anybody is helping me, right? And that's really all you have to say.
Mm.
And
To
then,
create that
hopefully
openness.
to create that open conversation.
Mm.
And you have to do it in a way that you like, I need you to listen to me, right? Like when you're having a conversation with someone, you want to be heard. You have to request sometimes for them to put down their phone or put down their distraction because we are all distracted, right? But it's like, I need for you to take 5 minutes to just listen to me because I'm having I'm having a crisis, right? I'm having a thing. I'm going through something. And when you give yourself that gift of allowing yourself to have those conversations, which are uncomfortable sometimes and not something we're actually used to doing, right? We're either used to, pleasing ourselves or appeasing somebody else just to avoid the conflict, because conflict is not something we're naturally interested in having. Being able to open the lines of communication by being engaging and just being truthful and vulnerable, right? Vulnerability is something that I think a lot of people struggle to emote because it requires us to be emotional. And there are a lot of people out there who don't like to show their emotions or don't want to admit that they are sad or scared or frustrated or whatever they are. So I think communication is the single most important thing when you're trying to express that need, right? And then have the consideration conversation. I have that conversation with my kids all the time. It's like, here's what consideration means. It means you unexpectedly pick up a pair of socks without being told, right? Or you say, oh, mom just put in a load of laundry in the washing machine, let me throw it in the dryer for her. Or let me empty the dishwasher without being asked, right? We also have to train our children to do those things, right? They're not just gonna automatically know it, but if they see you do it enough times and you say, okay, it would be really great, I turned on the dishwasher last night, you could unload it in the morning before you
So
go
it
to
goes
school.
both ways. You teach them.
Yeah, I don't think it's learned, right? I don't think any of us are born to be the most considerate human. I don't think any of us are born to be the best communicator. I don't think any of us are born to do any of these things without learning it in some capacity.
So what you're saying is that it's a really good thing to do to practice this with our children, and also practice being vulnerable and not having it all together, that it's actually okay to have that conversation and tell your family how you feel. And I think it was actually a very good beginning that you said, how your husband was responding to you. How can I help you? Because that is something that I think we forget to ask, our partner or our children.
Yeah.
And once we know, then, we don't have other expectations that are not being met.
Yep. And I think also when you kind of let your guard down, your relatability factor increases, right? It's like, at the beginning of the pandemic, my little one, who was in second grade at the time, is now in third grade. He loves to go to school. He loves his teachers. He loves his friends. He loves all that stuff. And he had a very difficult time transitioning into homeschooling, which just about every child did.
Yeah.
But he would have, and he's a very happy-go-lucky child. He's not a complainer. He doesn't cry. He doesn't have tantrums. He's not that kid. And one morning was building up to this. One morning he really just lost his mind. He was like, I crying on the couch. I don't want to do this. This is not school. I hate this. And I looked at myself and I was like, you have two choices, Mom. You can either tell him to knock it off, dry his face, and sit down and go to school, or you can sit down with him and you can tell him that you think this is crappy too. And that's what I decided to do. Like, I sat on the couch, I started to cry with him because nobody likes to see their child in pain. And I said to him, I was like, listen to me, I feel exactly the same way you do. I want you to go to school. I want you to be with your friends. I want to be with my friends. I want to go watch your soccer games. I want all of this. This is a terrible, terrible situation for everybody involved. And he just kind of looked at me and he was like, you do?
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden the light bulb went off and it was like, wait a minute. And it went off, I think, for both of us, because I was like, wait a minute. He needs to know that I don't have it all together all the time. And he needs to know that I'm willing to work with him to find the answers and make it better or make it manageable, right? Let's just get through this. Like every day was like, let's just get through this day at the beginning. And that, I think, changed a lot of the way that we communicate now, a year later, right? I think that changed a lot of him understanding that my mom is actually a human person and she has feelings and stuff matters to her and stuff matters to me. And she understands why I'm sad and she'll understand because, you know, she has felt this way in her life. And we have since had those kinds of conversations, right? So I think that when you allow your guard to drop and you express your vulnerability and your authenticity, even to your own family, your own children who you think already know, right? It's like, how come you didn't know this? It's like, because I never showed you. I never showed you. Like you've seen me cry before, but not for the same thing you're crying about.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was very life-changing.
Yeah, I think that's so beautiful. And I think we are so often so afraid of showing our feelings. So I think that was a very nice share and also a very good lesson for our children, because then they will know that it's okay for them to do the same.
Yeah.
Well, I know that I just have another question about your book that you have, that you're talking about 5 essentials. So before we're finishing off, could you just maybe just grab one of, if there is something that, you know, you can leave our audience with?
Absolutely. So I wrote a book. It's called Why Am I Yelling? Because Relationships. And in it, I outline 5 essentials that you need for every single relationship that you have. This book is not particular or specific to one relationship. It encompasses all of them. And I think the most important part of this, we can talk about the 5 essentials all day long, but I think the most important relationship that we all need to understand is the one that you have with yourself. And I think for a lot of us, that's a hard pill to swallow because we are so used to giving to others so freely. But I think that once you understand why that's important and why you have to start making yourself a priority and do it every single day in the form of self-care and practicing the 5 essentials, which are communication, respect, support, intimacy, and boundaries. I'm like, I can't even think of the 5th one. And boundaries in no particular order, by the way. But those are the 5 things I think every relationship needs as a foundation. And then things are built off of that, right? I've had people say, well, what about trust? And what about love? And what about, and I'm like, but you can't have those things without the foundation of the 5 things that we talk about. So, you know, it talks about, it's a personal, you know, kind of nonfiction life experience book that, you know, talks about my experiences in my life and how I kind of built these foundations for myself throughout my relationships and life lessons from, you know, birth through adolescence through, you know, where I am in my life now. And we talk about, you know, relationship loss, and we talk about, you know, unfortunately we talk about death because I've experienced that too, and how you have to find closure after, you know, losing a relationship, of the finality of a relationship that you can never get back. But I think that there are a lot of really good lessons in the book, and I think that there are a lot of really good pieces that you can just pull out and take away. But you know, that is my favorite piece, is making sure that you're, you know, you are aware that you are your number 1 priority, and you should be your number 1 priority.
That's a good finishing, I think, because that circles back to where you started. Really, that if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of anyone else either. True. So thank you so much for being here. Is there any last things that you want to leave?
So you guys can find me all over the internet at whyamiyelling_ on Instagram, on Twitter, all that stuff. I have a Facebook page. You can follow me there. Check out my website at whyamiyelling.com if you want to buy the book. It's available there. And I am going to give you guys a PDF about happiness and 5 ways to find your happy. So that's a good way to start your self-care habits that you're going to start doing today.
Yes, I love that.
Yes,
so generous.
I think it's really
fantastic. Yeah, excellent. Well, we all need happiness, and we should all start today. Why wait, right?
Right.
Yes. So thank you so much, Krista, for being here. And thank you everyone for listening. and tune in tomorrow.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.